Convertibles. Everyone loves driving one, especially when it comes to summer in the UK. And now that the sun's out and it's peak summer, I thought I would make a little video on the most reliable convertibles you can buy in the UK market. I've actually done videos on the most reliable cars you might remember and some of the most unreliable cars, as you might remember from a lot of these videos, and it's a fan favourite. So, without further ado, here's a list of some of the most reliable convertibles I've found with prices, and here's some of the sources I've used. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Cars with Ben. Let's jump straight into reliable convertibles. In no particular order, we have the Volkswagen Eos, a car that a lot of people forgot and was quite bland. Now, when it came out in 2006, it did fairly well. The numbers weren't great, and I think people expected it to do better. It's one of the most reliable convertibles you can buy, given it's a Golf underneath, so of course it's going to do great. It's got all the great components from that 1.6 to 2 litre turbo diesel engine. Now, it came out in 2006 originally, and it lasted up until 2015 until they discontinued it, with a facelift version, of course, but they weren't as cool as people would have liked. Now, some were modified, as you can see in a minute, and they did a good job, but it just didn't look great. It was just a bit of an awkward convertible. The Volkswagen Eos was still a great car, though, and it had an excellent reliability rating, just using the same engines and parts from the Golf, and it was cheap to repair as well. Prices for these can be seen as little as £2,000 now, which, if you want a convertible, is a great bargain. And number 2 is the only British car on this list, and it's the Vauxhall Tigra. Now, this, I admit, isn't as good as its predecessor, but it is a pretty bland car. I have to say, I really don't like this thing, but it is a reliable convertible, so it does deserve to be on the list. Now, other than being a bit of an accessory, even probably worse than a Fiat 500, dare I say, it does have a lot of the parts from the Vauxhall Astra, which make it fairly reliable, and the Vauxhall brand. Now, even though Astras generally aren't as reliable, there's a lot more of them, so there's more to go wrong, but AA give this car a great review. The only issue that most people said was the pump modulator, and to be honest, these cars are super cheap right now. The Tigra is reliable and easy to drive, and it's no surprise because it's actually really well equipped as well, which means you can actually have a really fun time if you want a cheap, just a fun weekend thrash, and it's not going to cost you more than basically £1,000. It's very economical and a great little car to drive, so for only less than £1,000 potentially, you could have one on your hands. You might be forgiven for thinking that the Mercedes brand is unreliable. Well, that's not the case for the SLK. This car actually is a great little car for convertible fun and reliability. Now, both of the models I'm talking about here, from the 2004 up until the 2019, even today, are reliable. Just the older one is more so. This is because What Car said that it was a great survey when they did any issues. So mostly 30% of the faults came from bodywork, gearbox to clutch. Now, obviously, these prices were expensive to fix, given it's a Mercedes. Even with that little engine, it was still, most owners did pay more than £100 according to the survey. And it again came in at 95% for consumer satisfaction, which was great even for the older version, which is strange to think. So obviously Mercedes did something right, and it came with a hardtop. You can't go wrong there. Prices for the older one are a bit cheaper at around £5,000, and if you want a newer one, you're looking at about 12 to 13 at current market. Not only have I owned one, but I can safely say it's the most reliable car in the world, as well as convertible. The Mark III specifically and Mark IV are the most reliable cars, and Britain's most reliable car you can buy, let alone convertible. So surely that makes it the best purchase on here by far. What Car gave it a score of 94.3%, and only 14% of owners, despite having potentially a high volume, had problems with their car, and it was still tiny issues: battery, brakes, non-engine electrics, easy replaceable stuff costing no more than £200. And people didn't like the Mark III, it was a bit boaty, but no one can take away from the fact it was a great drive and still one of the most reliable and best pound for pound convertibles you can buy. Mazda had a great engine, and they mounted it, of course, that way because it worked so well. Moving on to the Mark IV, you can see that it was a bit more techy and newer, so prices obviously vary around 10,000 plus, but these are still best money for you brand new cars you can buy on sale today, and Mazda knew this when they were selling the car. Prices are still great, from as you can see here, but you can get one as low as £1,800 for a Mark III. Now, the next one might be considered very controversial because it's a BMW Z4 from 2009 up until 2017, and this is the one that, believe it or not, is actually one of the most reliable BMWs convertibles you can buy. Even though it is a rather complicated car, given power steering failures to drive shaft, the Z4 has been given a very good review by most car companies. What Car said it featured and scored 9th out of 31 places, according to one of its surveys. So obviously it was very good in its reliability, and a lot of people have praised them for just how great they are. You never really see any go wrong, to be fair, so you can't really complain at that, and it looks great. I love these ones. But just for proof, here is a picture of the car on the most reliable list, as you can see here, but the price for maintenance is very high given its BMW prices, so it will be high. And prices for the car itself around 15 to 10 at a push. So is it as good as the new one? Well, it's a Toyota, so it should be. To finish off this video, I thought I'd do one bonus, and it's the Saab 9-3 Aero. Even though they have some reliability issues overall, they are still pretty good cars. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Cars with Ben. I make weekly car content on anything that you want to know. Stay tuned for the next one.